As a lot of you guys already know, I really enjoy writing music in my free time. Not professionally and not even very well, but it's something that I really enjoy doing just as a hobby, just for fun for myself. But a lot of you guys have been asking me recently to share more about how I write songs and my writing process. So I thought I'd do a terrifying and possibly terrible idea.
Hey, I'm Annie, and this is why you should love music.
So I thought I'd sit down and film the whole process of me writing a song, a terrible song probably, and you guys can get like a little behind the scenes thing. When I write my writing process, I do have a general writing process very loosely, but every single song is like so different, and I think it needs to be its own journey and its own experience, otherwise you're not really doing yourself any favors. Normally when I write songs, they just, because I do it for fun and I don't do it for a living, they generally tend to just happen while I'm out and living life. I'll just get a spark and it will derail my life while I go write it down really quickly or record it, and then I'll go back to it. But there are a lot of times where I just don't feel good and I don't want to do anything, or I'm having a hard time and I just sit down with the intention to write. So that will be what this is. Those songs are generally not as good as when they just hit you cold, but you could definitely do it. When I'm writing, I like to start with the words, the lyrics, and the melody before I add any accompaniment whatsoever. I feel like it makes stronger songs that way. And right now, I don't have any ideas or inspiration, so the first thing that I do is just think about what's been on my mind lately. What you kind of check in with yourself. A lot of times when you're living day to day, you don't really stop and think, what have I been thinking about? Because that's a very weird and meta thing to do. So one of the first things that I do is just think, what's been going on? What have you been thinking about? What have you been feeling? And if there's nothing really big that's been happening in your life, think about weird little things that have happened in your life. Like right now, there's nothing really going on for me. Last night, okay, this was the thing. Last night, I've been really sick lately and I'm throwing up, really hard time keeping any food down. And so now I'm at the point where I was at first trying to eat like really healthy, small, nice things that would be easy to digest. Fruit smoothies and like blended up greens to try to get vitamins. And then now I'm just at the point where I'm like, I'm throwing up everything anyways. I may as well just try to eat something delicious. So last night I tried to eat a piece of cake and I regretted that decision immediately. Because I don't know what had happened to it, but it was like a really wonky piece of cake. I took a big bite. It had this like pink frosting. It was a chocolate cake with pink frosting. And I took a big bite and then I like almost immediately spit it out. I didn't, because I'm not a 3-year-old and I have like a modicum of self-control, but I was like, what the heck is this? And my sister was sitting on the couch and I was like, this cake, why is this cake so salty? And she was like, it's not salty. And I was like, this cake is disgusting. And it definitely, like, I think that the frosting is actually just salted butter. Like, it tastes exactly like salted butter. And she's like, no, it doesn't taste nothing like that. That's disgusting. I was like, I know. I don't know if I can swallow this. This is disgusting. It tastes like salted butter. And she's like, it's not salty. And I was like, this is the saltiest thing I've ever eaten. I have literally had a glass of orange juice and I dumped an entire packet of salt in it and it tasted less salty than this cake. And she was like, you're crazy. And I was like, okay, well, does this cake taste weird though? And she was like, it does taste really weird. And I was like, what happened to this cake? And she was like, I don't know. And I was like, what does it taste like then if it's not salty? And she's like, it just tastes like butter. And I was like, so salted butter. And she's like, no, not salty, just butter. And I was like, okay, well, maybe it just tastes like butter and I'm just salty. And so I thought that it was salty, but really that was just my emotions and I have a hard time identifying them. Because with that sister, I also have this ongoing inside joke about how I don't have feelings. It's just the thing that I say all the time, like, I don't have feelings, and then she always rolls her eyes at me and tries to convince me that I do have feelings, and I try to convince her that I don't have feelings. And so then, a few days before this, wow, this is a really long story. A few days before this, we were talking, and she's like, I think you do have feelings, you just don't know how to identify feelings. So I was just teasing when I took a bite of this cake. I was like, oh, apparently it just tastes like butter and I'm so salty, but I don't recognize emotions. So I just said that the cake was salty when really it was me and I projected it onto the flavor of the cake. And then we laughed and laughed and laughed. What is the point of that story? The point of that story is to show you that random inconsequential things can be sparks for songs. So hang on, let me open a new document. Another thing about songwriting for me is write down everything. Write down all of your bad ideas. Because if you don't write down your bad ideas, you can never get them out of your brain and give room for good ideas. And also, once you start writing, the flow starts going. So at the beginning, it will be horrible, and then it will just get better and better. It's like when you have an ink inkwell that's like dry. Inkwell? What am I, like in the 1700s? I meant like a pen and it's dried out, and when you start writing it's like, this is awful, and then when it goes, then the ink flows. That's how your brain works. Your brain is a well of ink that has dried out. Never fear. The more you exercise it, the more it will flow freely. That could also be a song idea. But we're going to go with the salted cake. Between a brain inkwell flowing freely and salted cake, I choose the salted cake. This is what we're learning about me today. So, para ejemplo. It's just really good if you're writing a song to be super extra about literally everything. So, let's go with this. Right? That could be a jumping off point for a whole song. Because if you're a sane person and you read that, you'll think it's about crying, and you try to hold back tears, and you know, like you get that taste in your mouth because you're so full of emotion that you feel like you're gonna cry and you get that taste in your mouth. For me, it's like you're gonna vomit. I don't cry because I don't have feelings. No, really, I don't. But so if you're a sane person, you'll read it and you'll think that, and it will be relatable. But if you're me, you'll know it's actually about a terrible experience with cake. So then you can write a song about that. I actually don't want to write a song about that because I don't think I can sit down and write an entire song around the feeling of you about to cry, because I can't do that. So we'll modify. How do we modify that? Oh, I know. Okay, so I tell my sister, I was like, I don't have feelings, I have thoughts. I identify with my intellect more than my feelings. I don't know. I guess I probably do have feelings. I just don't understand them, and so I choose to label them as thoughts rather than emotions, because that's just how my brain functions. I don't know. So, we'll switch that out. Since I can't talk about emotions for a whole song without phoning it in, I'll phone it in anyway. But because I can't talk about emotions that much or that intelligently, we'll switch over to thoughts. So we'll say this. Right? And this is the first iteration, so there's going to be a lot of like cliches. This is just to get everything flowing out of your brain, just to get some thoughts down, even if they're terrible thoughts. Right? Stop telling me to do creepy emojis. Right? And now we just let it flow. And we do little stupid word plays, because they will lead into more complex and actually interesting word plays, and we'll replace these things, right? And then you want it to rhyme because we are Dr. Seuss for fakesies, right? And then you want to do something like, oh, then that's a different thing. Now we have a parallel thing with a turn at the end, right? So you have like parallel, 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 turn. And then you're going to do, parallelism is fun. Let's try it again. So we'll start at the beginning. Let's see, what else? What else? Now we'll do the other side of the parallelism that we inverted it to. Sometimes it's fun to invert things and then flip it back, and then it will give it a new mirror. Within the context of the mirroring, it will give the actual substance a different message. So that's kind of cool. That's a fun thing to do when you're writing, to play with that kind of stuff. Oops. I forgot a syllable. Right, and then we're still going with, we like to be contrary. That's fun to do in songs when you're contrary to yourself. That makes people chuckle. And again, this is all very obvious and very surface level, but we just want to let everything flow. It's actually very hard. I'm not letting it flow because I keep pausing to explain what I'm doing. So that makes it difficult. So now we're just doing these plays on parallelisms and reversions and inversions. And now here's where the hook is going to come. You know the hook is going to come because it's like do 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 do. And then you need a punch. You need an oompa. What is the oompa? We don't know the oompa. Usually you should have an oompa before you start. It's better, like I started with, oh, this one time I had a terrible piece of cake and I thought it was salty because I was so salty. I thought the cake was salty, but it was me. You could go actually a lot of different ways with that. Anyway, so if you started with that concept, what's really nice, what you should do, is if you start with like the hook, like you have the punch of the song. Right now we're just like kind of going like this terrible butterfly, uglier, like a terrible moth that's kind of like boop, 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 trying to find our oompa. You should start with an oompa, that's better, but we don't know what our oompa is. So we will put in a placeholder. Oh, by the way, I have a melody already, because when you're for me, I have words and melody at the same time. I don't distinguish them. So now is when, so we have like kind of the heart. We don't have the heart because we're missing it. That's the boop. We're missing the heart, but we kind of have like the beginning of the structure. Like we have the ambiotic fluid wherein the main core identity will grow. And then once we have that, that's when the work kind of starts doing itself. The work has already done itself. I haven't done anything. So then we'll just write down all of the free-flowing inkwell brain that comes out of our head, and then we'll go back and then we'll fix it and make it not terrible. We'll make it less terrible. So at this point, I might feel in my hands, right now I feel like this is a guitar. Sometimes I feel like it's a piano. So at this point, I'll probably go and get the instrument that I feel suits this. But right now, in my head, it's just like, I had my thoughts on the tip of my tongue. I find myself when I'm lost and numb. I tried your way. Now I'm going mine tonight. And then there's a chord change that goes, ooh. I had my feelings in my pride. I find an emptiness inside. I tried to love with all my heart and mind. And then I have a melody in head for the boop. But I don't want to sing it yet because the hook is the most important part. So the hook will kind of delineate its own melody. So I don't want to sing that part yet. I'm gonna go get a guitar. BRB. So the first thing I had to do is figure out what the chords are. I think I have like an idea in my head, but we can also alter that a little bit. So where's my phone? Where's my document? I had my thoughts on the tip of my tongue. And then also I gotta decide if I want that key or a different key. I think that's a different key than I normally... Yeah, I think it's in D. I usually write in E, but I think it's good because sometimes if you write in a different key, it'll break up your patterns that you're used to. Maybe if you're overly familiar or comfortable with something, then it becomes too repetitive. So sometimes it's good to break it up by writing in a different key. I'll keep it in this key for now, but I might end up changing it depending on what shapes I want. So now, once we find the chords, then we got to pick what shapes and what iterations of them we would like. And this will vary greatly. This is the fun part because you just get to play. So... Alright, so it's like going to be like a D, A, probably B minor, G, A, probably. But let's say I don't want to be boring, right? So let's say I want to do this, maybe. Maybe I'll do this guy? No. I don't like that one. Let's do this guy. Yeah. I had my thoughts on the tip of my tongue. I find myself when I'm lost and no mind. I like this one better. Tried your way, now I'm going mine tonight. And I like to open that up, that one. Maybe I'll close this and open it when I slide. I had my thoughts. Maybe I like it better down there. Oh, let's just start down and then slide up. And then slide down. And then slowly slide up. Let's try that. I had my thoughts on the tip of my tongue. I find myself when I'm lost and numb. I tried your way, now I'm going mine tonight. Oh yeah, I was going to close and then open it. That's better. I had my feelings in my pride. I find an emptiness inside. I try to love with all my heart and mind, but it wasn't enough this time. Okay, that just came out. I didn't have that. Sometimes lyrics will just fly out of your mouth when you're singing, and then you should immediately write them down even if they're terrible. You should write it down next to the other ones that are terrible, and at the end you pick the least terrible of all of them. So what the heck did I just say? I can play back the video, I guess. I think I said, but it's not enough this time. Again, super cliche, but that's okay. So then at the end you'll have like, a lot of times I'll just have slashes or multiple lines, and then you pick the best one. You go in at the end with your critical thinking cap. You cannot have a critical thinking cap while you're in the process of writing, or I should say I can't, because then you'll stifle yourself and you'll feel like everything has to be perfect the first time and then nothing will ever come out. So I just have a bunch of terrible ones, and then later you can go back with critical thinking and say, wow, these are terrible, and then fix it. But if you get nothing on paper, you have nothing to fix. So I wonder if it's... No. Do I want it? I think I like... Okay. I think I like that one. And then there might be a time, like for a bridge or something, where maybe I'll be like... or maybe this will be the verse, I don't know. Had my thoughts... Well, this won't be the lyrics or the melody, but maybe this accompaniment could be the verse or a bridge. Probably different chords if it's a bridge. I don't know. Had my thoughts on the tip of my tongue. Find myself when I'm lost and numb. I tried your way, now I'm going mine tonight. I don't know. Maybe I'll do some picking later. Okay, so wasn't enough this time. I don't like that. So we still need an oompapa. I'm happy with the accompaniment though for now. It's a good placeholder accompaniment. Maybe I'll keep it. I don't know. Okay, getting back to lyrics. How do we feel about abstract? I feel like I want to go more abstract. I always want to go more abstract than I should, and I hope that people don't take it literally, because then they'll be really confused. They'll be really confused anyway. I kind of want to do, like, go back to this thing, because I'm still salty about that dang cake, and we got so far away, we, like, got rid of the salt altogether. Well, how do we feel about this? Halfway love it, halfway hate it. Not love it, I halfway like it, halfway hate it. I like that when you type this creepy little emoji just pops up. Okay, moving on. We'll come back to this and decide how weird we want to go with it and how abstract we want to go with it. Now let's do verses. I feel like I'm very salty about this cake still, and I want to bring that into the equation. And so I want to do it in a funny way. So this is, I have inside jokes with all of my songs because I'm a big fat nerd. So let's do this, because then everyone will be like, oh, Bible reference, I understand what she's saying, but really I'm just saying, like, no, I am the salt. I thought I tasted salt, but it was just me. So that's cool. Now I'm just being cliche again, plus also I do like Reliant K. And now we'll be more introspective. Let's get rid of the, though, because that's too definitive. We don't like articles. They're too definitive for our current abstraction level. What else? What else am I? Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Now we're turning just into hippies. See what I did there? So I'm still following the path down parallelism. So we ended with C, and now we started at the beginning with the me, which is paralleling the first stanza, but now we're taking the end of it so that we can carry on as a sign of progression. But really I'm not thinking about it that much. I'm just following the obvious trail of thought, and then I'll go back and make it less obvious or more interesting. Let's do the same line again. I was wondering about talking about empathy, but I think we'll just do this and then do this. Right? We'll do more, I don't know. That's a start for the verse. So then you can be like, how do you go? Guitar, help me. Well, I already, okay, so. Salt in the earth is me. Why do I feel like this is a piano? It's because I'm turning into a hippie song right now. Oh well, maybe it will be a piano. Maybe I'll have a piano and a guitar. Salt in the earth is me. The air in the sky is free. Go up on the word sky because you feel like it is in the sky and it is soaring. So you don't know if you're saying literally it does not cost me to breathe if you think about priorities, or is it just that it has no boundaries because it's just floating and it's a gaseous mass that fills whatever space it is in. But secretly, it's about none of those things. It's about I'm mad because the cake was gross. The salt in the earth is me. The air in the sky is free. And I am an enemy to things I cannot see. This time we won't go to the A, we'll stay on the G so that it gives you a sense of suspension that you won't know hits till the chorus. And then maybe we'll do, I don't know, straight into the next one, or part 1 and part 2, or what. A drop in the sea is me. I feel like a weird Yoda hippie. Maybe a drop. Maybe I'll just, because you want it to say, a drop in the ocean, me. But I feel like I wanted it to be C because then it would subvert, it would be slightly less cliche. And plus C feels like it fits better, but maybe it would be ocean. Because a drop in the ocean me sounds less annoying to me than a drop in the sea is me. Although maybe it's not annoying, maybe it's funny. Sometimes I don't know if things are funny or annoying. A drop in the sea is me. The sun in the sky can see. I am an enemy to things I don't want to be. I don't remember the melody anymore. I have to go back. I had my thoughts on the tip of my tongue. I find myself when I'm lost and numb. I tried your way, now I'm going mine tonight. I hide my feelings and my pride. I find an emptiness inside. I don't know the words, try to love with all my heart and mind, but a tongue won't open. It's very hard to diction to enunciate because also a tongue won't open eyes. It sounds like you're kind of need some help there mentally. It sounds terrible. I don't know how I feel about that. A tongue won't open eyes. I like it because it's weird, but also I don't like it because I think people won't get what I'm trying to say. They won't get the many layers of this. What I mean is that when you speak, it doesn't mean that people have to change their closed-minded opinion. But also I just mean that like literally it's a tongue and it does not have eyeballs. And then also I'm just joking about how I tasted salty because I felt salty. Many layers of abstraction in this weird little line. But that's the start of verses. Salt in the earth is me. The air in the sky is free. I am an enemy to things that I cannot see. I like that one better. The next one needs a little help because the ocean is having some problems. I'm starting to get sick of writing this. I'm starting to get salty about me writing a song about being salty. So I think I'll just do like one more verse and then I'll just phone it in by, instead of doing a real bridge, I'll just end it with the chorus, but I'll do the first half of the chorus with the last line from the second half and pluck it, or just do single strums or something and call it good. So I just need one more verse and it will be lame, so it will be like, what else is salty? We got actual salt deposits in the earth. We got sea. Oh yeah, that's another reason why I like sea more than ocean, because in my head it's the Dead Sea, because a lot of times when I'm salty about something, I say I feel saltier than the Dead Sea. Because, you know, that's the kind of person I am, and that type of person is extra. What else is salty? Maybe I'll just go more, maybe I'll stop being quite so hippie and I'll just come straight out and say it. So, let's see. This is funny because you don't know if, oopsies, because you don't know if I'm gonna follow this up into the next line or if this thought is its own independent clause. So, that's funny. I guess this makes it less ambiguous, though. I don't know. Ugh, why is this so elementary and annoying? This song annoys me. Ugh, this is so trite. How do I not know how to spell any English word right now? All of the letters in my brain were like, this is not Greek. I don't know it. I don't like that. I hate that. I think we've become too closely paralleled because I was writing a song about being salty and now I just feel salty about the whole thing. So that's my songwriting process. Slowly I descend into my mind to the extent that I just become the embodiment of my song. The end. Thank you for coming on this really long and boring and kind of pointless journey with me. If you would like to see the final product of this terrible song that I just wrote, there will be a link in the description. It will take you to my private YouTube channel where I post kind of like a artistic journal where I post my own songs that I write. Not really to share it with anybody, but just because I like to keep journals sometimes, and so this is one of my online art journals, I guess. I don't know, it's weird. Anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day, and I hope that you're enjoying music and not being salty like me. And I hope that if you have cake, may it never taste of butter. That's my hope for you in this life. Goodbye.